feel like I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I felt that way actually since I was born. Because you think about it, the day I was born, I won a lot of lotteries. And the first lottery I won was, of course, I was born in this body, which is reasonably healthy. And I had all my limbs. I even had hair back then. That changed, of course, but that was the first lottery I won. I had nothing to do with it, and I won it. The second reason I feel the luckiest guy in the world is I was born to my founder. I have a great family, public servant dad, teacher mom, great siblings, grew up in Delhi. It was wonderful. I had nothing to do with it. I looked outside my window, I could see the press valley. Had I born on that side of the street, my life would have been miserable, right? But I was born in this town. And the third reason I feel really lucky is because I was born in India. Imagine being born in Ukraine or Iran right about now. That would really suck. In fact, now I gotta be careful how I say this because I'm not supposed to say this, but I think the only person luckier than me is my wife. No, she's got this great boyfriend who she eventually married. That's not the point. So we're all very lucky, right? And luck is great because luck has to do with things that happen to you that you don't control. Correct? You have no control over it. It happens to you. You're one lucky bugger. Of course, so your luck runs out, then you're dead. But running a business is different. Running a business is absolutely not about luck. It's about a few things. And I'm going to try and tell you the secret sauce Metro's 7 years of success in 17 minutes. Good luck to me. But I'm going to try. I'm going to break it down by a couple of things. So the first things first. We all know that short-term results come from intensity, right? Short-term results. You burst hard, you have this burst of performance, you have this burst of energy that comes out. That's what comes from that's how you get short-term results. Long-term results, however, comes from consistency. Now here's the trick. Consistency times intensity is what leads to success. But the reality is both of them individually are hard. You accumulate it, it's exponentially hard. And I think that's what Metro does well. They are able to do things consistently and they're able to do it with intensity. And let me talk about some of this intensity. This starts with something called operational rigor in our organization. There's no way, however big or small, that doesn't matter. We run 1,000 stores. We know if there's an AC broken. We know if there's a light out. We know if there's landlord-created problems. We know if there's a union strike. We know if there's construction going on outside our stores. There's no problem that we don't believe is small enough for us not to go back. And that takes a lot of rigor to happen. Like, that's that constant intensity of operation. The other thing we have is deep financial discipline. We've been profitable since inception. We've run double-digit profits. We've not been enamored by the new world of burn money to show growth. We will not show growth if it comes at expensive profits. We're not one of those companies that believes our valuation should be based on cash burn. We believe it comes from running a profitable business that shows growth. And that's financial discipline. We don't get swayed by markets. We don't get swayed by the shiny new toy. If the toys don't mean money and make money for the organization, our shareholders, we're not going to do it. So when we go through all of these, I want to break it down into 4 broad things that we kind of live around and look at, right? So the first one, I call it the 4 P's of business. Don't confuse it with the 4 P's of marketing. It has a little similarity, but it isn't. So don't start writing emails to your friends on your phones. The first one is product. Of course, product is king. And if you think about it, today the customer is optimistic, but extremely discerning. Extremely discerning. And why are they discerning? They have access. They have access to online, Omni, all of those things. They also have access to data and information as to what is happening globally that they want to bring down to here to them. It used to be music. When I grew up, we were like a decade behind in music. Today, we're 10 minutes behind. Labubu, Dubai Chocolate, all made it to India within seconds of it coming out. We know what's going on. The consumer is fast. The consumer is discerning. The consumer wants more and more. And from a product standpoint, they want it quicker. Not just quick, they want it quicker. They want it quicker than they had it yesterday, right? So we had to pivot we had to change, we had to add things. In the late 90s, we only had Metro shoes. And for those of you that don't know Metro shoes, as a company, we're Metro brands. We have 10 banners today, totaling over 1,000 stores. So that didn't happen because we thought it'd be fun to have different banners. It happened because our consumer wanted that kind of product. So all our product is consumer backwards. It's not about what we want, what does our consumer want and how we meet that need. So that's the first P. The second P is process. And process becomes very important when you scale, when you grow, but equally when you hit crises. Because if your process isn't agile, if it isn't nimble, it's going to crumble. And I got to tell you, today, we're faced with two pretty significant disruptions. I hope one of them is short-term, but one of them is definitely long-term. The short-term one, of course, is the war that's going on. I hope it doesn't turn into a long-term disruption. We honestly believe that attack's going to have the impact of COVID before it's over. If you add up the stuff, that's how you prepare for it. That's how you build processes in place to combat any disruption. Processes aren't just good enough when things are running smoothly. Processes have to be strong enough to withstand disruption. By the way, the other disruption we all know is AI. And we've just begun, I think we talked about the journey of AI. We've just begun on the journey of AI. It's going to get bigger and bigger. It's going to help us more and more, but it is going to be absolutely disruptive to the way we do business today. The third P is principles. What are the principles that you want to live by? And I'll tell you, the foundational principle at Metro is do the right thing, always. Now, with Metro, I limit it to how do we treat our vendors, how do we treat our customers, how do we treat our 4,000, 5,000 front-end staff. And that's very critical in how we do it. Our landlords, our suppliers, all of those things. But I'm going to vector off a little bit and maybe leave you something to think about for the rest of my little presentation, right? When we talk about doing the right things in your life, you always know the right things to do, but doing it is the hardest thing in the world. And let me give you an example. We all know it's good to exercise every day. Is there anybody in this room that's been living under a rock that doesn't know that? We all know you need to work out frequently. It's very hard. That's the right thing to do, is to work out. We all know it's the right thing to eat healthy. But the real is adjust the sails. The winds are changing hard around us. The winds are changing fast around us. It has changed hard over the last 50 years for Metro. It'll change again hard over the next 5-10 years for Metro. What we want to be is the realist. And when I ask you to think about your life, where you're going with your life, I want to leave you with this. Be the realist. Thanks for listening to me. I will take your question. If you have any.
Do we have any questions? Yes, please. Can we unmic it?
Nissan, you talk about 5,000 stores in Europe. Well. It's not a futuristic statement and think it's possible. I don't want the analysts coming down on me. Sorry, I forgot you were restricted. Yes. So where do you see opportunities? When India gets compared in terms of population with China, and people talk about number of stores in China, the numbers are huge, multiples of tens. But when you look at India, where do you see this next set of 1,000 stores coming in from? Now, let me start with the macros bit, right? Same amount of population, totally different income dispersion today. So it might take us 10, 15 years to catch up to China's income distribution where they are today. They, of course, have gone much further on by that whole 45. To give you a point of reference, Adidas in India is about 400 stores. Adidas in China is 4,000 stores. So that's just giving you a sense of what is possible out there if India had the same demographics as China, which I don't think there's a person in this room that doesn't believe we won't have it. Whether it's in 10 or 15 years, we'll have that sitting around. So that possibility is there. I think what's tricky, Rajneesh, is that it doesn't follow the same playbook that India is, that China follows. So you cannot use the China playbook and say that'll apply to India. China had a lot of advantages. There wasn't a lot of companies vying for global trade. Global trade was quite close. They went up fast on it. They also had a lot of, the fact that they're not a democracy, if they want to lift and shift Worley from here to there, they can do it tomorrow. They can move Bangalore airport back into the city if they wanted to, right? you can't do that anymore. We're a democracy, right? So we are at our hands high in a lot of ways. Bottom lines, we don't have the landmass that China does either. So there are some things that make us different. But saying we won't get there is not fair, right? I think we'll get there. We'll get there different. And that's the tricky part, because most of India is the population density is obviously tier 1, tier 2 towns, right? But when you'll start to see the lightweight tier 3 towns become viable from a population density standpoint, from a trading density standpoint, that's when the light and the path is going to become much clearer. So I'm not good enough to predict what that path looks like, but I know the next impetus to the growth that will come from the tier 3 towns.
Also wanted to see your perspective. You see this distribution and reaching this customer which is not having enough density to do a physical setup of a store. Do you see multi-brand stores or distribution playing a bigger role? And that would be one way of financially reaching out those customers.
Yeah, I don't say that your question as you want to understand.
Instead of opening stores alone, will distribution help reaching these markets faster?
Yeah. So the reality is at some point consumers need to touch and feel their brand experience. Where it's hard to get and keep these consumers, they become butterflies on the internet because they're so capable of jumping from one brand to the next. So it's great to have a physical presence, which is not developed enough to have enough physical retail in every tier 2 and tier 3 town. But I think also because when China grew, internet wasn't as big as it is in India today. India's going to go differently. The difference is, I think you saw China brick and mortar boom, and then the e-com boom came up behind it. Here, you've seen brick and mortar vendor just start to wake up and grow, and e-com came in big. But as you heard from this morning, and you probably do it, the one next door, I think it's now an and story. It's not an on or story. It's going to be brick and mortar and e-com and digital. It's not going to be core. So that's the different playbook. I wish it would follow the same playbook. I could go to sleep a lot sooner. It's to kind of stay up at night trying to figure this out. But we're going to get there. That's the beautiful news. It's going to be worth your time and while to look into it.
Ladies and gentlemen, please help me.
Just one other question.
This is absolutely inspirational. So thank you. Thanks.
Spiritual. My mom would be happy finally.
So, in this 1,000-store journey, is there anything that you can look back and say, okay, this is probably the top 2 things that we probably should have done or probably should have done earlier? You know, connecting the dots always helps. You know.
Yeah, 100 things. Is the honest truth. I'd like to say it was easy. It wasn't easy. It's akin to if you start to drive for the first time in your life, you're going to take an out-of-town trip to go from where Bangalore. You're going to go from Bangalore to Goa. It's essentially a long trip. The things you encounter on the way. You go, I know I should have thought of this. I had the brains to think about it, but I just didn't, right? We had a lot of those moments come up, right? Foundationally, though, what you need to do is to have the infrastructure that's strong enough to carry, right? And I'll tell you how I describe our growth. We'd open 60 stores, then we listen to where the squeaks were. Where the brakes squeaking a little, where the tires squealing a little, we need to grease that. So we take a little pause. Thank God the Malik family is wonderful. They don't put any pressure on me. They said, you have to open this, you have to open that. They just want to help get through this business in 7 years. They want it to be a 7 years from now, right? So we would grow and we kind of have time to course correct, learn from our mistakes and do it. The biggest challenge we had is to get our people back at the store support center in Mumbai, the office, to get up to scale, to understand scale. Because it's akin to having, I say this joke and it's only a joke, but it gives you the context of what you might deal with if you go through growth. If you give a 3-meter auto rickshaw guy, all of a sudden you put him in a plane. And said, I want you to fly this plane. You know the first thing he's going to say? Kiriki Kogo. The second thing he's going to go, right? So you understand, they don't get the paradigm shift. I wish I'd spent more time investing in shifting the paradigm before the paradigm shifted on us. So that was, if I could put it in one word, one sentence of all of those things, that would be it.